When life throws you a curveball, how are you going to handle adversity? Welcome to the Fearless Mindset Podcast, where you're about to go on a journey as I interview security, business, and entertainment leaders on what it takes to stay fearless. I'm your host, Mark Ludlow, and enjoy today's episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Fearless Mindset, brought to you by, we have Production Combat Ready, his company, sponsoring this show today. And we have some amazing guests, and we've got some veterans here, and we have these two fine gentlemen on the screen joining us. Where are you guys joining us from?
Mount Airy, Maryland.
Maryland, East Coast time.
Maryland. Mount Airy.
Wow. So this is going to be a fun, there's no really platform. We're just going to talk about some great war stories and entertainment and some history, Karate Kid, and all kinds of fun stuff that people don't know about. And for the record, we met on set. Was it NCIS, Bones?
I think it was Bones.
Was it Bones?
Could have been Criminal Minds.
Could be Criminal Minds. We're all in.
Not those Criminal Minds, James. Sorry. No.
Yeah.
That's you.
So for the audience, we met on a TV set, and I was interviewing, and I'm like, I'll do background work to make some extra money. And then I met the real deal here. He's been, how many credits do you have?
46 feature film credits, probably.
That's an actor. Okay.
I'm just an actor.
An actor, but our airborne ranger.
Uh-oh.
Israeli born. Uh-oh. I heard
Army,
that.
Army, yeah.
Army.
Yeah.
So
We got more Army in the room, thank God. Yeah, I was in I was born in Israel. However, it served in the U.S. Army Airborne Rangers. So people were kind of thrown off by that because they thought I'd served in the IDF, which I hadn't. And I was working with all Marines, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
Mark is also a former Marine. James is a former Marine. And we were all part of production response teams to set, where we provided SWAT teams, military background, and actors to set. So we played James and Ricky on set for most of our career.
Wow.
And we will get into that. And so, and then fast forwarding to recently, you reaching out, find out you're doing a podcast show, and here you have your podcast show, and we're going back out and doing what we do on set. And so I'm excited to get to share that from the veteran community, from the law enforcement community. Here we have 4 former veterans, 2 former LEOs, and 2 former Hollywood clowns all together. But I think it's a great thing to show our community. And I think it's awesome. And we get a chance to highlight some great legends in our industry, in our community. And so I appreciate you bringing me on, but I wanted to bring on and give the audience, your audience, a chance to meet James and Ricky, especially at this time when out there's a lot of unrest. Right now they're, shooting at the George Floyd, memorial, which is a great way to celebrate a memorial, I'm sure. And here's James and Ricky, who spent their life trying to make everything better in that world. So I'm going to let you get into that. I have been on the entertainment industry for a long time as a military advisor on set, over 26 years in the entertainment industry. And I always tell people I spent less time in the military than I spent in the industry. And so it's been a long time in the industry. And so here is our chance to highlight and bring some of the veterans and people that we've worked with and known and tell their story. So let's get into that. I'm excited for you to get to do that. And I'll let you get back to that and let you properly introduce James. And I will say this about James Lilley. I got to meet James Lilley through a program we do called Vet Talks. And he has a lot of interesting books out, one of which is Mr. Miyagi and Me, where he was, yes, the first Marine to ever be awarded the black belt in the Kyoto-Ryu dojo for karate. But more interestingly, after that, he became a law enforcement officer with Ricky here. And I would like them to get a chance to tell you about those experiences and what they did, both being military veterans themselves.
Let's hear your story. Love to hear it.
Okay. Well, Ricky and I worked together for a total of about 5 years. And I met Ricky when I came out of the crime lab and took over a squad of young officers down on what is considered Washington Boulevard, Route 1. And cesspool, yeah. It has a little bit of everything that you want. You can get high dollar to low dollar. from the high rent district to the low rent district. You've got the hookers, the pimps, and some very interesting places to work. And Dotan, just to bring it up to you, the motel that is in the book, The Hounds from Hell, is still in existence and exactly the way it was when Ricky and I first responded to it together.
Cedar Motel.
In Cedar Motel in 1988. It is exactly the same. It has not changed.
You have one authentic set location.
Hey,
Oh, it was, believe me.
you pay by the hour down there.
And sometimes you could probably get in on a 30-minute deal, and every other rotation they change the sheets. But we had my experience to go back to that and take over that particular squad was a squad of young officers who had basically been, I guess what you would say would have been floundering, and they needed a way to find their own way. And Ricky, I had looked into his background before I came out of the crime lab, and I knew I was going to need a good backup. And within a matter of about, I think 2 days, the squad was beginning to understand that Ricky was going to be my right-hand man. And it was a lot of work to be done. I mean, you had young guys that actually, they needed to learn. They needed to find a way to actually be police officers, because up until that point, I don't believe they had that. And when we started working, my objective was for those officers to learn a lot about drug enforcement, how to write a search and seizure warrant, how to go out and look and find the drugs. And slow process. We walked it through a couple weeks at a time, and in time, everybody started to roll in, and we got the squad working together, functioning as a unit. And that was a big thing, because when you get your squad, when they love to come to work, you know you've got basically the bull by the tail now. You can spin it around and get things going and move ahead because they want to work. And that's the biggest part. And I thank Ricky. Certainly, he was a tremendous help to me in getting those people motivated and motivated. And when I wasn't there, I knew I could depend on him to keep things going. There would be no goofing off, because my response to Ricky, if you have a problem, you know how to address it. All right, Rick, why don't you give him a little?
Okay. He's being very generous. Okay. He's I'm gonna tell you the truth, because I'm a straight shooter. He came into the squad at the time. I was about 2 years in, I consider a rookie, just learning the ropes. I had a certain skill set already. I call him the mad scientist. He's Dr. Frankenstein. Okay. I had the skill set because I was in the military for a while, and I learned a lot of just how to function and adapt and adjust, I guess. But what he did with me was he gave me he molded me, and then he turned me loose, if I can give you that analogy. He taught me how to be effective, decisive, and deliberate in your actions. And the thing what we bonded on was his mind is so far, he can just see a situation and he'll come up with something that works, that we're able to infiltrate something or do something to alleviate that problem. But what he taught me was basically to be able to think on your feet, to be able to formulate a game plan and then execute it. And then we went out and we were aggressive. I already had aggressive nature, but he taught me how to control it and to put it into focus. It wasn't that I would consider myself arrogant, but I would consider myself confident. I wouldn't consider myself brutal, but I would consider myself effective when I had to be. So he taught me the balances. He taught me the lines. He always would tell me there's not black and white, it's gray, because the criminals don't play by a playbook. So we would have to, at some time, don't bend it. He tell me never break it. He's telling me no, break it, but bend it. We might be able to bend it so we can effectively get the job done. So when he came to our squad, he was right. We were looking for leadership. We didn't have any. We had a bunch of aggressive officers that we had to be taught how to channel that into an effective unit and basically come to work. treat every situation, every traffic stop, every contact as a potential threat. Because being a police officer, you're on an island by yourself. We're a one-man car out here. So you had to be able to be effective, but also not understand where you might need help and not to be so, blatant or reckless out there. So I owe everything to this man. He made my career. And then I followed him over into narcotics, where we were in the street drug unit. And that's when, with our two minds he would send me down. He would just say, Ricky, I want you to get in the cab and go down to this drug, just open air drug market inside of a cab and buy some drugs. And my attitude was, okay, not a problem. Walk into this crack house, and sit down. I have a gift of gab. I can talk to anybody on any level and communicate. So he set it up and I executed it. We put me out on the corner selling drugs as a reversal. First time in this whole state or county?
County.
First time in the county that we did reversals where I was selling drugs, but obviously, just like with prostitution, I can't solicit, but I would stand out there, with my garb on, my skull cap, and my long trench coat, and they would walk up to me, and we had crack, and we'd go to the property room. Stuff was being destroyed. We would baggage it up. We put crossbones on our bags because you have to be able to identify once you take their person off. Once they leave the scene, we would have units around, and we would take them off. So we were very, very, innovative in our approach. We did search warrants coming in on he rented a Ryder truck to go into this it was the Guilford Gardens. It was Copperstone, yeah, which is basically an open air drug market. But we came in sitting in a Ryder truck like we're moving in, and we all jumped out,
looking at him.
We all jumped out and ran up to the apartment, and we hit the door, did a warrant. It was fun, but we also learned how to take care of each other. And this man here, his insight, his ingenuity, his mind, it's like I said, he's a mad scientist. He really is, and he created a monster in me. I'll be the first to tell you, but he gave me the room to just expand and grow. He turned me loose, and we were effective in what we did. It was. I had fun, but it was very, very deliberate in what we were doing.
And of course, you guys were working the streets. What was your mindset? How did you remain fearless while working as cops in very dangerous situations where you could probably be shot any day of the week doing undercover stings and operations? What was the sense of security in your head that kept you going daily? What was that trigger?
Well, truth to me was, again, something that he instilled in me is you can control 99% of a situation. Just about how you interact with somebody, the commands you give them, the position or the postures you put them in. I can control you up to 99. That 1% I can't control. You're going to go crazy, you're going to go off. I can't control that. But I can dictate what your action is going to be just through my interactions with you. And I know when it's going sour, so I take a different approach. My attitude was basically respect or expect. That was my mantra. I treat you with respect until the time you start disrespecting me, then it's over. Then it's over. So,
and that's what you're saying is you have to take charge.
Mm-hmm.
You have to establish right up front who's the one that's setting the ground rules.
Yep.
And when we arrive on the scene, we want it understood right from the beginning. We're the ones that control this, not you.
Yep.
And when we had early on, we found out that a lot of the criminal element up and down there were monitoring our radio calls, and we're able to escape a lot of things. So we came up with the idea. What we'll do, we'll come up with a code system
and get CBs.
And then we got CB radios out of the property room that had been in there, and then I developed a code system for every location along that Washington Boulevard from one county line to the other, and it had a designation. And then we had our one young rookie on the squad, Mike Ensko, had the nickname of Swamp Fox. And he was the one that we would send when he knew the code was given. His job was to go to the trunk of his car and take out the clothing that I told them to carry. Everybody carried
black BDUs
or camouflage. and a set of civilian clothes, keep them in your car. And Mike would go, he would give a call of 41 Foxtrot. And everybody knew 41 Foxtrot, this is where we're going. Mike would be in the bushes with the binoculars and the radio. Ricky would be at one end, I'd be at the other, and the other officers would set up. We'd go over onto a channel that actually we weren't supposed to be using, because you had to request permission to use this one channel. And it would take you 3 days to get it. We just to say, the hell with it, go to channel 3, we'll work the operation, suffer the consequences later. Well, Mike would get in with the binoculars and he'd call out, okay, a blue Chevy just hit out now, northbound, tag number such and such, watch the drug exchange. There should be a certain quantity of drugs in the car. All you do is make the stop. So either Ricky and another officer would go ahead, pull the car, and bam, they've got the guy. And then, but we were beating them by using a code system. And then another one, we had a drug house that was in another county, and they were major league players. And we would hide. Mike, again, Swamp Fox, would go over with a backup at night, and he would set up over there and watch the drug deals that would take place. And
oh, excuse me, he didn't tell you this. Wait a minute. He went to the U.S. Army, National Guard, and got us night vision.
Sweet.
We did that operation. No, I'm seriously, six night vision. He got him to release it to him, not to the department, to him. He signed for him. So we were in the woods with night vision, military grade night vision.
Yeah, so that was great. I mean, Mike could sit over there in complete darkness with the night vision.
That's amazing.
And his binoculars.
That's outside the box right there.
Yeah, and his backup. Now, we knew that once they came out, if they turn right, we got a guy that's going to describe the car. The car's coming back toward Howard County. Well, now when they were coming in, nobody drove the speed limit crossing the bridge. So I have a radar man set up about a mile over the line with a good place to make the stop. And there's Ricky and a couple other guys. The car come up, they get the stop and pull them over. And the big highlight for the one, he had a cooler. We saw they handed him a cooler, and he's got a cooler on the front seat that we know filled with drugs. And we call for a drug dog, and this guy's almost in tears. And finally, he before the dog even gets there, he confesses that he's got the drugs in this cooler. And we pulled it out, opened it up, and it was all individual packets of marijuana. Mm. Now, the bomb dropped when he said he was going to make a killing because he was working in D.C. and there was no marijuana in D.C. He said he could make a killing. Now, the real killing here was the fact that he took the mortgage money that his wife had given him that morning. He had a full mortgage payment that he spent to buy those drugs, and then he was going to triple his investment. Well, not only did he lose his money, he lost his drugs and his car because we took that.
That's doing confiscation.
And forfeiture because once you're transporting that amount of drugs in the car, we take the car.
Right. And
there he is thinking, what am I going to tell my wife or how's she going to react? And we're probably going to want a divorce or worse, she may kill you when you come home. Right. But the point was, this is the way we played the game. We watched what you did. And on the other side of that coin, we also had a lot of businessmen and women down there cooperate with us.
Yeah.
If they
a lot of intel information they gave us.
And they would call in drug deals. They would call them into us and say, okay, it's such and such a place or one or two motels they would set up in and do their dealing there. They would call and let us know that these people were now in operation and it was time for us to come take them down. Now, and on the other side of that,
I have to preface this one thing though. What people don't understand, we weren't in narcotics. We were uniformed police.
We were uniformed police.
We were uniformed police doing this. We was actually supposed to be working a squad, working a sector, handling calls in that sector. He would take us out of service and have us go, change our clothes.
Extra duty. Special duty.
Basically, it was extra duty. Yeah.
Marine special duty. You know what? We got
Well,
I don't want you guys to be bored today. So let's take over the narcotics division. They're not doing their job.
Well, they weren't doing anything. So
that's what
we did more than them. They used to get mad at us.
Well, that's where I actually wound up getting the
Because of that.
because of what we were doing. We were making more drug arrests in uniform than the drug unit was in plain clothes.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, we were pulling all kinds of different things with the night vision goggles and
Holy crap.
And we was getting quantities.
And
we were getting quantities.
We were getting some really good arrests out of it. And when they take that, I said, going back on, especially the one motel, they had dealers in there all the time. And I joked about this. I said, well, one thing with having Ricky with me, we don't need a battering ram. We just use his size 14 foot.
Yeah.
He kicked the door, and the door did the entire door. The door jammed, everything went. And
nice.
Oh, we should do our own entries.
Yeah.
This one here had me. Wait a minute, the mad scientist. We did so many warrants one year. I think we did over 1,000 search warrants.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
1,000 search warrants in 1 year.
Dang.
We did so many. We used to have tactical do the high risk ones, but we have another one we need to do that night too. So in his infinite wisdom, he said, Ricky and Insco, go work out with SWAT and get trained in entry. How to hit a ram and hit the door. So Insco and I, we got trained in doing entry. We got trained in doing entries. We started doing our own entries without SWAT. Then so, we was hitting houses every night.
Yeah, and on the other side of that coin, not everybody in the department was happy.
They hated us. They called us cowboys and renegades.
Oh, I believe it.
Oh,
The district attorney probably loved you guys because all the search warrants he had to issue, and he probably had to have his own protective detail to protect him from the gangsters.
Yeah.
Right. And the other side of the coin is when you went into these neighborhoods and the people would literally run out. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. We appreciate you taking the neighborhood back.
Yep.
We had a very innovative way of
Things have changed.
Oh, yeah.
Things have changed, really. While we're at it, we need to do an introduction for the audience. So could you do the intro of these gentlemen so people know who they're listening to?
For those who are listening in, this is well, those who have just tuned in, who may have just tuned in, we have forgotten to do these bumpers. I'm sorry. This is Ricky Lee and James Lilley, the Hounds from Hell, the original crew from the Baltimore, Maryland, Howard County Sheriff's Department. These two gentlemen, did I get that right? Did I get it close?
We're police.
Oh, police. Sorry, Howard County Police Department. There you go. Yeah. And I will say that these two police officers are also former veterans. One's a former Marine, one is a former Army veteran, and our company, we like to bring out and tell stories and feature people that really made a difference for our generation. Now I'm gonna age myself right here, which I'm not supposed to do in my industry. So I remember 39, everybody, but I'm 49, 39 that was. And as a 49-year-old, me and you are living in the benefits of the work these gentlemen did. And it's interesting to hear them talk. I just like to, you think about people honored and love the police officers. My son grew up wants to be a police officer. That's the way he saw it. That's the way I raised him on purpose. They talked about loving the job and coming to work because they love it. And today I don't get that sentiment from our fellow LEOs. And since we counsel veterans to begin with, veterans become LEOs, we end up with both. And so I think it's important to hear from both veterans, and these gentlemen are both veterans, and LEOs. As you can see, mixed race has been around for a long time. We've all worked together. It's nothing new to any of us. So trying to cancel culture and make us all out to be the bad guys, it's not going to work with the veteran community. Okay. Because we're, from my generation to their generation, there's no cracks in the wall in the line that we buy into that. So I'm going to let these guys get back to it. This is James Lilley and Ricky Lee, two former LEOs, former veterans who made a difference and still make a difference. James Lilley speaks today. He doesn't like to mention it, but he does. He speaks for Johns Hopkins University about many of the reasons that, the policing that they did is important. And I would love to hear from them before they go. how they feel police officers feel the job is today,
Absolutely.
what kind of police reform, quote unquote. And here's something interesting. He just mentioned about a poor guy. That poor guy went to jail and got busted for marijuana. That was the thing of the dime.
Mhm.
That guy today would have a shop in California and, have a billboard sign up on the freeway. So they did their job because that was a job that we needed to have done. That was the job that people said, man, this is what's bringing down our city. This is crippling our environment. This is ruining our community. And today the public is saying, we don't need you. Wow. I don't feel that way. I know you don't feel that way. Okay. And I know
I don't feel that way.
No.
I know these two gentlemen don't feel that way, but I know there's a lot of people out there in the public who feel that way. So as a civilian, I'm not LEO, I'm not military, and I've never been in law enforcement, but as a citizen, I support the Blue Line first and foremost, and wanted to bring them on, give a chance for the community to hear about why and what they've done and how they feel policing's become today.
Absolutely. Please share, gentlemen. Please share what your thoughts and feelings are in today's culture as we see it.
Well, it's the problem right now is when, for whatever reason, the police suddenly became the bad guy, and you take one or two bad apples, and the media will not leave it alone. They play that 24/7, but you're looking at a culture now, and this is just mind-boggling to me. You've got everybody from the president to governors to congressmen to senators to mayors to prosecutors who are damning the police for doing their job. They take just a couple instances and forget every other good thing that every police officer has ever done, and they're taking these few little pieces and blowing it so far out that you're turning society. And when you've got your president, your governors, and your mayors, the prosecutors, and I say the prosecutor in Baltimore, she'd rather prosecute police officers than she would criminals. But you have that kind of mindset, and it's being played daily on television. It's on the radio. It's in newspapers. The negative is all you get shoved at you about the police. And then what do? You brainwash basically a community or the citizens of the country to say, we don't need the police anymore. And I just saw a mayor, and I can't remember the town she was elected in, but her goal within the first 100 days is to completely defund the police and do away with the jail. Now, can you imagine? And there are those around the country who want to totally abolish police and the prisons. Now, if you look at that situation and just with an ounce of common sense, try to analyze what that would mean when you take away every law enforcement officer in the country on Tuesday morning, and on Wednesday morning, you go to every prison, jail, detention center in America, open the doors and let them flood out everybody, including the ones on death row. What is that going to do to America? And I throw that out there and say, you've got to stop and think, what are you asking for, and what's going to happen if you get it?
I think the audience knows that answer.
Yeah.
Common sense.
Yeah. Well, I look at it similar to Jim, but I also take this stance on it.
Sure.
I look at the police departments nowadays that they don't train their officers. They're not trained properly. There's a lot of situations that shouldn't have happened because they weren't efficient. They weren't efficient, and they weren't decisive in their actions. Nobody's going to walk through 4 officers and get to your car to leave if I tell you you're under arrest. So there's things that if I tell you you're under arrest, you're under arrest. It's either going to go the easy way or the hard way, but I prefer the hard way. So which way you want to go? Mm-hmm. That's my mentality. I'm not going to play with you. That's not up for negotiation. But then it comes down, here's the training comes into it.
Sure.
They want to pull guns now. Whatever happened to pain compliance? Yep. Whatever happened to once I get you in custody, handcuffed, I just throw you in the car and drive away.
It's over. Cuffs are on.
It's done. It's done. I don't need to sit there and put you on display or show you whatever. Now, and two, it comes back to the police departments. They're not training, because if he's a human being, and if he gets into a physical altercation, my mentality is I don't get into fights. I alleviate threats. That's how I look at my job. So if he's involved in a situation where, say, someone spit on him in the course of affecting an arrest, he's going to lose it. Okay, it's my job to pull him off. It's my job to take him out of the situation and tell him that's enough, not to stand around and let it happen. So I fault a lot of the police officers in that area, in that realm, that we're not taking care of each other. And then on top of that, I've seen it, you've been around it. There's people got no business being cops or being police officers. No, because they can't handle the power. And that's a lot of power you inflict on people. And you got to be able to have a even kill when you effectively come at people. And a lot of times they start up here instead of starting down here. Because I used to be a field training officer. And the first thing I would tell you is this: start down here, because if you start up here, you got nowhere else to go. You got nowhere else to go. You can't even talk your way out of something because you started up here. So what you do, we're our own worst enemies nowadays. Absolutely. Just how I look at it. So because we're not effectively policing each other or weeding out. There's nothing wrong getting rid of a bad apple. There's nothing wrong getting rid of somebody who can't handle the job. You're not going to be working with somebody who can't do their job. There's people I worked with when I became a supervisor. I told them, don't put his ass with me. Transfer him or her. I don't want them with me. They can't work with me because I come to work. And if you don't come to work, I don't want you with me. If I can't trust you in a life and death situation, and then my first line to my FTO is, when I was FTO, I would tell you, in your worst case scenario, can you kill somebody?
Right.
In your worst case, I got to be able to know that. In your worst case scenario, can you kill somebody for me or for that citizen? And if you honestly got to think about it, get out of my car. I don't want you with me because I can't trust you.
Trust.
I can't trust you.
Yeah.
Trust your partner.
And that's the big thing with the trust factor. And then Ricky brings up the point of the training. This is something I've argued for a long time, and Dotan, I'm sure I've mentioned it to you at one time or another, is in the area of the physical training and defensive tactics. Anytime somebody had some BS program, and when I was teaching the police academy, they would come along and take my class time to run this program in. The most important thing you got is a good physically fit officer and one that's highly trained.
Yep.
Now, I pointed out something that I learned in Okinawa in 2007. Jody and I were over there and in fact, I was there to get the final pieces to write to complete writing my book, Mr. Miyagi and Me. And we had the opportunity to meet with the chief of police. And we asked him about the different training methods. And as fate would have it, we were there in time for their roll call. And we went out and watched their roll call. They line up in a military formation, squad by squad leaders out front, watch commander with his deputy commanders up here. They conduct their briefing, and each and every shift before they go out onto their assigned duties, every day they have 15-minute refresher of defensive tactics. And he said, this is in addition to whatever else they are practicing on their own time. But at the same time, it reinforces the training that they've had in the academy. And again, 15 minutes may not sound like much, but when you're working and going and getting an hour or another hour and a half each week of that, just as the refresher, it keeps your reaction time sharp. It keeps your mind sharp. It keeps your eyes sharp. You see things that a lot of people would normally miss just because you've trained.
Then you build muscle memory. And then when you engage in a physical altercation, another thing, it's just sad to see how officers respond to a physical confrontation. You know, I used to love go hands on. Once I put these big paws on you, it was over.
Yeah,
it was over. I call it, it's pain compliance. Whatever happened to arm bars, wrist locks,
UFC action submission by Frank Mir.
Yeah. Before I pull my gun, they pull guns now, and I don't understand it. And then you got 4 officers on one person. You can't subdue this person. We used to do 2-person takedowns, 1-person takedowns, how to put people in submissive holds. where is that training at?
Good question.
You know, seriously, where is that? So
I think one thing that you two could help highlight that was a shock to me. So again, I get to be third party citizen here. I've been arrested by little officers. I've never been one. Is that there is no the police, James, which was when I took on this project with James, I said, okay, I'm going to learn a lot about the police department, but I want you to realize that Rangers, we break the rules, not the law, and we don't know the law, right? So I'm going to learn things about you guys that I'm not going to know from the Army. And one of the most amazing revelations that you shared with me is there's no such thing as the police, whereas we have the Army and the Marines. Okay. And Ricky was in the Army. I was in the Army. He was in it different years than I was in, but I guarantee you, me and him know very similar, if almost not the exact same things. Okay. And that's because it's got uniformity in, right? There's no the police. So even though James and Ricky did an amazing job in that department, in that area, even if they changed that entire state, there's 49 other states. Every mayor of every city elects the police chief they want to work with.
Yep.
Immediately, anything you had in place could be changed.
Yep.
So the minute these two left uniform, any goodness that was there may have went with them.
True. Very true.
So that is one thing that when people go to blame the police, if you live in an area and you hear this show right now, and all you think of is, wow, my police are phenomenal and awesome and amazing, that's because your mayor and your police chief are amazing.
Leadership.
And if you're in an area where it's not great, it's not because of the police. It's not the police that failed you. It's the mayor and the chief. The fish rot from the head first, the commissioner and the mayor. And then that created that environment that those police are performing under, which is what Ricky's talking about with poor training. Let's not use training. Let's not use these tactics. Let's let the wrong people do the wrong job. Okay. I never became a police officer. I can tell you my interview was different than Ricky's. My temper is like that. And some people, their pressure comes down, right? And their blood pressure comes down and they're able to handle the situations.
Right.
Mine goes up. I don't belong in those situations.
Yeah.
Good thing I wasn't an officer. So you said it best. Not everybody belongs there. You should know, hey, is that a position of power I want to be in where I'm real mad and aggressive and I could be pounding somebody's head in? And I got to stop pounding their head in? Nah, I don't know about that, right?
Piggyback what you said, though. What's sad is the police department, the command staff know they got people out there on the streets, got no business being on the streets.
Right.
They know it. They hide them. Okay. And then the transparency, the cover-up is worse than the crime. I'm not going to release the video. It's either I screwed up or not. And if I screwed up, we'll deal with it. Whatever we have to do, we'll deal with it. But it's just, to me, most police departments nowadays, they're their own worst enemies because they don't want to train, and nor do they want to have, everybody's trying to mask certain things or hide a person that they know is going to be a problem, and you wonder why he blew up. This is not his first time. That wasn't that guy in Minneapolis' first time. No. It wasn't. As a matter of fact, they talking about he did that, I think a year ago to somebody else. It's just now coming out. So why is he still in uniform? Why is he still on the job? You wouldn't have had this problem if you got in front of it. Get in front of it. Be honest with yourself. Be honest with your rank and file, and say, this is our boundaries. This is what we're going to do. This is the training I'm going to give you. That's not happening nowadays. And they got people in position of power, like you said, got no business being there. We have people become our supervisors that they spent 6 weeks on the road, and then they made their ranks inside the building in admin. But now you're telling me how to be effective out on the street, what I can do and what I can't do. How can I talk? Like I said, I was a field training officer for 6 years. They went to a civilian company to come in to teach us how to be kinder and gentler with our recruit. Okay? They told me in the meeting that I was a dinosaur and they didn't want people like me because I told them I would put people out of my car if you were driving and I told you not to do something. Like my pet peeve was never pull me next to somebody at a stop sign or a red light. I don't want to sit directly across from somebody. So offset the vehicle. Okay? Right. Because if that car is noticing me, and they keep doing this,
you're done.
That lets me know something's going on.
Yep.
If you're worried about me, but I don't want to be side by side. So I had a recruit that kept taking me they kept parking me side by side at a red light or a stop sign. So what I did, I told him, get your ass out of my car. I put him out on the corner. I drove away, round the block, came back like maybe 2-3 minutes later, told him to get in, and I asked him, what did you do wrong?
Nice.
Because I want him to think, because you have to think on your feet in this job.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah, so those are things, but that's just the way the mentality is. Mentality is totally different. I couldn't be there. He couldn't be there. It's not that we were brutal. We were effective. And like I said, I don't fight, I alleviate threats. So if you took it to that line, I did whatever I had to do to alleviate that threat. Period.
Yeah, and then if you want to take one side and take a look at dealing with people, we had a shopping center where there were Fat Dexter and his boys. they basically
loitered.
They basically just controlled the shopping center.
Yeah.
And when I went back on the road and I made everybody clear, said, we're going to stop this. This is not going to happen anymore. Well, also found out that Ricky and Mike have a great sense of humor because of what they did to me. I pulled up one day and I'm driving up and I see Fat Dexter and 10 or 11 of his buddies on the side of the shopping center. And I went, all right, what are they doing? As I pulled up, every one of them turned around and spread eagle on the wall. And I went, I'm trying to figure out why are they up there? And then, of course, the one I knew most, of course, was Fat Dexter. I said, Dexter, come over here. And he waddles on over. And I said, what are you doing? He said, no, we were just leaving. We were going to leave. I said, that's fine. He said, no, sir, I'm serious. We were just leaving. As soon as we saw your car, we were leaving. I said, okay, but what's this? He said, Mr. Lee, Mr. Ensko, they told us, whatever you do, don't piss off the guy driving car 494. That's our sergeant. And if you piss him off, he's going to get out of the car and shoot you. And they believed this. They told them that I had done it before and that I would always beat the case in court and would be assigned to the road. And, the whole time I talked to them, not one person up on that wall moved. and I was trying to wonder, I said, where in the hell is Ricky and Mike? I said, I know they're out there somewhere right now watching with binoculars, laughing because these guys just spread eagle and then telling me the guy in the car is a nut.
But it cleared out the loitering in front of the 7-Eleven.
Nice.
It did. Yeah. But the other point was that we took the law and used it to our advantage.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I found
loopholes.
We found the little pieces in the law that you could use to make an arrest.
Yeah.
And I said, no matter how chicken shit somebody might think the arrest.
I'll give you one. We were in a neighborhood dealing with, asshole. Oh, excuse my language. Sorry.
All right. You're on podcast.
I'm old school, buddy. I'm a cusser.
It's all right. It's okay. You're good.
And we didn't have something. We just basically just jacked them up because they were loitering, doing things, but they were kind of loud. And this woman opened up she was on the second floor. She opened up her window and she stuck her head out. He turns to her and says, did you hear what they were saying? They were yelling and screaming and cussing. She said, yeah. He said, we got you for disorderly conduct and disturbing the peace because that lady opened up her window and stuck her head out. So we were able to lock up everybody there.
Nice.
Took them away for about a day, a day and a half, maybe 2 days until they made bail or whatever. But it alleviated the problem. And that's what I'm saying about mad scientists. The lady peeked her head out. She said, ma'am, did you hear that? And she said, yeah, I heard him out there making all that noise. And we said, we got him. Disturbing the peace and, disorderly conduct.
And the other one was in the disorderly conduct statute was obstructing free passage.
Yep. Let somebody walk off the sidewalk.
And if you're walking down the sidewalk and you have to walk around them, they have obstructed your right to the use of that sidewalk, obstructing free passage, disorderly conduct charge, which you can arrest for, and anything subsequent in that search, the drugs, the guns, whatever they have.
That's what we want.
Is all legal.
Because all of them had drugs on them and guns on them. So
now the only thing that we never really told people was that we actually had on-call people in the neighborhood that when we saw the thugs standing on the corner,
They would make the phone calls for us.
we could call down to them and ask them to go out and take a walk.
Yeah.
Sure.
And they would walk, and then we could make the arrest.
I call it adapting and adjusting to your circumstances.
And that's the key thing. We got, the new law enforcement police officers coming out. They got to learn how to adapt and overcome and training. Go back to our training.
Yeah, not every situation is the same. You got to be able to be fluid, and,
My teaching was that you've got to be able to go from plan A to B to C to D until whatever works. And you can't wait and back up and say, well, I've got to go back and replan it. You have to do it then.
Yeah, once you're engaged, you're engaged.
You've got to think on your feet and be able to move and change within a second.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we covered a lot of territory today. And, I'm so glad to hear James and Ricky, your stories on what you had to do back in the day. Back when 20 years ago, you're on the streets. Yeah. That's how things happen. And Ricky, you made some great points. It's back to training. What happened to training?
Yeah.
And then James, you brought up a good point, and Ricky too. Everything comes from the top bottom.
Yeah.
Leadership starts from the top and goes all the way down, and from the presidency to the city mayors and the city chiefs. That's where we start in the small towns and expands throughout the country. We can fix this problem.
Oh, absolutely.
We are America, and we are the greatest country in the world. And us veterans, we got to pull together and maybe lead by example and show these citizens, what's at stake. Yeah, say we defund the police, half the departments throughout the country. We're going to have a mess.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have a mess.
If we defund the police, and you guys, we got to wrap up. So I want you guys to come up with something to say to the audience, but I would say this much. I'll give you my one small opinion, and that is this. Once you defund the police, what you're left with is me. So if they're not coming, you got me, my Navy SEAL buddies, and the Rangers and the Marines. And we are not the guys you want to engage with in any way, shape, or form. This was the only people protecting you from us when if you guys want to get into it, we can get, in other words, we'll get into it. Let's get into it. Okay. We're always ready. So I would say that it's going to be a very interesting for the next 15 or 20 years. As I believe the pendulum swings, and we've all seen the pendulum swing both ways, but it's not going to take as long these days because of the internet and social media, and we can learn faster. Sure. So I'm glad you guys came on. We'll definitely have you guys back, but I think that if you have anything else you guys want to share with the audience, but something that I want to leave everybody with is to really think about, like you said, your local law enforcement departments. These are the guys that were there working, carrying the load for you. Think about what they're doing right now and how their workload is. It'll help alleviate them, right?
Absolutely.
I said, when I first started writing was to write from the realistic point and make it as realistic as possible, even though you might want to say it's fiction. A lot of what I've written is certainly factual based. And I said there's
factual fiction.
Yes, it is very factual. And
James, do you have a book you written? You want to plug on your book?
The website.
If you want I have my website of jameshLilley.com, and that's the last name spelling Lilley, jameshlilley.com. And there's a lot of things there from humor to things that'll break your heart.
Okay. Thanks for sharing. Ricky, do you have anything where we can find you out there in social media? Are you?
No, man, I'm retired, babe. I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Retired.
Arizona, I'm retired. I went there with the sunshine all day.
Nice.
Yeah. So
nice.
Well, thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark, for having us.
Hey, you're welcome. And for everybody that wants to tune into this, we'll be probably airing this in a few months on the fearlessmindsetpodcast.com. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or have a guest request, Mark at ledlowsecurity.com. So thanks again for being part of the show, and we'll catch you guys again.